Hello YouTube and welcome to another route learning video. On today's video we're going to be taking train 9C55, which is the 1855 London Overground service from Norwood Junction to West Croydon, and we'll be taking over that at Surrey Quays for the remainder of the journey to West Croydon. On this journey we will be calling at all stations, which is New Crossgate, Brockley, Oak Park, Forest Hill, Sydenham, Penge West, Anerley, Norwood Junction and finally West Croydon. The total distance for the journey is around 8 3/4 miles, and our attraction for the journey today is the Class 378. The Class 378 is part of the Electrostar family of electric multiple units, and it first came into service on the 29th of July 2009. It was manufactured by Bombardier Transportation, and there are 4 or 5 coaches per train set. There are also 2 subtypes of the Class 378, the 378/1, which is the type that we're on, which is DC only, so it can only operate on the third rail system. And the other type is the Class 378/2, which is able to operate on the third rail or the overhead system. There were a total of 57 of these trains built. The maximum speed is 75 miles per hour, though we won't be able to get to that on the journey today. And the power output is 800 horsepower per driving car. In the passenger view of the Class 378, you can see that the seats go down the sides of the carriages, and it's designed in such a way that it appears to be almost one giant long coach. So the gangway ends where the coaches connect have been widened to make more space for passengers to stand. And this is due to the high frequency, high volume services which are used on the London Overground. So looking down the train here, you can actually see 2 coaches down, the end of the train and the door to the driver's cab. In the cab of the Class 378, you can see it looks very similar to the Class 377. There's not a huge amount of differences. One of the differences is on the speedometer, where you can see the red line marking 75 miles per hour, indicating the maximum permitted speed for this train. And also there's no speed set on the outside of the speedometer, which there is on the Class 377. So what we need to do now is put the train into forward and then reset the AWS self-test sequence. Now I'm going to open the windows. This will allow us to hear the train better when we're moving and also hear the air rushing past on the outside. I am using the Armstrong Powerhouse Class 377 sound pack, which I believe makes the train sound significantly better than the default sounds. However, it does introduce the guard to driver bell when cleared to depart from a station, something which I believe these trains don't have in real life because they're operated on a driver only basis with no guard on the train. Departing from Surrey Quays, the starting speed limit is 30 miles per hour, and we've got around 1 1/4 miles to go to the next stop, which is New Crossgate. As you probably saw as we departed, the speed limit was going immediately up to 40, so we can accelerate to that now. And once we're at 40 miles per hour, I'm going to idle the power and allow the train to coast, as the speed limit will soon be dropping down to 25 miles per hour. Just to mention, one other thing that I did when starting off is pressed Shift and numpad Enter, and doing that on the Class 377 or Class 378 will turn on the driver safety device, though we may well not get a chance to hear it go off on the journey today due to the amount that we'll be moving the power handle up and down. So we are currently on the East London line. The East London line was originally part of the London Underground network. It was closed in 2007 and then reopened in 2010 as part of the London Overground network. So as you can see, I just braked step 1 just to slow down for this 25 mile per hour speed limit just here. We are now going to be going uphill as steep as 1 in 30. So I've applied 2 steps of power to try and ensure that we don't lose too much speed. The speed limit here is going up to 40 miles per hour, and we will be able to accelerate to that as we reach this 5 mile per hour speed board just coming up. So now we've reached that, I'm going to go into full power to accelerate up to 40. Now at 40 miles per hour, I've once again idled the power to allow the train to coast. Do need to bear in mind that we do have a single yellow signal. However, a single yellow signal at this point indicates that we are cleared to travel all of the way into the platform at New Crossgate. And you can see the station just coming up now, so I'll be braking in a moment. We do need to stop at the end of the platform. Just to say that this isn't a scenario which comes with the route, and in fact I created this scenario myself just on Friday night, specifically for this video, as I wanted to record a video in a scenario which uses realistic traffic. Departing New Crossgate, the starting speed limit is 40 miles per hour, and we've got around 3/4 of a mile to go to the next stop, which is Brockley. We did just depart on a single yellow signal aspect, so I do need to keep an eye on the signals now to ensure that I drive carefully and make sure that we don't pass through a red. So I have now idled the power at 35 miles per hour, just to allow the train to coast. And you can see that the signal up ahead is displaying a red aspect, so in a moment I'm going to start slowing down for that. Now that we've crossed over onto this track, the speed limit has gone up to 60 miles per hour. However, we certainly can't accelerate up to that at the minute. The signal has now cleared to a single yellow aspect, which means we are cleared into Brockley, which is the next stop. So I'm now going to accelerate back up towards 35 miles per hour, but I won't go above that, as you can see the platform of Brockley just coming up. I have now idled the power to allow the train to coast. I'm now going to apply the brakes before we enter the platform, so that we enter the platform at around 25 miles per hour. The stopping point here is at the 4-coach stop sign, which is around the middle of the platform. Departing Brockley, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and we've got just over a mile to go to the next stop, which is Honor Oak Park. If this next signal just ahead is displaying a double yellow aspect, that means that we are cleared all of the way into Honor Oak Park, so I don't need to worry about slowing down for a red signal, and in fact you can see that the signal has just cleared from a single to a double yellow, just as I was saying that. On this right hand curve here, I'm now going to idle the power and allow the train to coast. I will be braking for the stop just after we pass through the next signal. The stopping point here at Honour Oak Park is at the end of the platform at the S-car stop sign. Departing from Honour Oak Park, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and we've got just over 3/4 of a mile to go to the next stop, which is Forest Hill. As we reach the next signal coming up, at that point I will idle the power and allow the train to coast. The next signal just coming up is just under half a mile from our stop. I'm now idling the power. What we need to look out for now is the sign of the platform approaching, which you can now see on the opposite track, so I'm now going to apply the brakes. And in fact, I've made a step 3 brake application just here, just to bring our speed off a bit, and now I've gone down to step 2. The stopping point here at Forest Hill is at the 4-coach stop sign, which is about halfway along the platform. In fact, we do need to stop just slightly beyond the 4-coach stop sign here, or unfortunately the doors won't open properly. Departing Forest Hill, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and we've got just over 3/4 of a mile to go to the next stop, which is Sydenham. Once again, at the first signal out of our last stop, I'm going to idle the power and allow the train to coast. Our braking point for Sydenham will be at the next AWS ramp just coming up. I did briefly fan the brakes up to step 3 there, just to ensure that we were bringing our speed off quick enough. The stopping point here at Sydenham is at the end of the platform at the S sign. Departing Sydenham, the starting speed limit is 60 miles per hour, and we've got 3/4 of a mile to go to the next stop, which is Penge West. The line now diverging to the left is the line to Crystal Palace, with on the right the line from Crystal Palace is just joining for the opposite direction. And also the lines from Crystal Palace towards Norwood Junction will join us just after Annalee, I believe. As we approach this next signal, I'm now going to idle the power to allow the train to coast. And I'm going to brake for our next stop just as we're passing under this girder overbridge. So I've now made a step 2 brake application, which should bring our speed off about right. Once again, at Penge West we do need to stop at the S sign, which is at the end of the platform. Departing from Penge West, the starting speed limit is still 60 miles per hour, and we've got just under half a mile to go to the next stop, which is Annalee. So as we travel along, once we reach around 35 miles per hour, I'm then going to idle the power to allow the train to coast. There's no point in accelerating above that, as you can see the platforms of our next stop are already coming up quite quickly. So I've now idled the power, and I will brake shortly before we enter the platform. Once again at Annalee we do need to stop at the S sign, which is at the end of the platform. Departing Annalee, the starting speed limit is still 60 miles per hour, and we've got just over a mile to go to the next stop, which is Norwood Junction. As we reach the overbridge coming up that you can see, I'm going to idle the power and allow the train to coast, as the speed limit will soon be dropping down to 45 miles per hour. And so after this overbridge we'll be looking out for a Morpeth board, and once we pass that I will then brake for the 45 limit. Here's the Morpeth board, so I'm now applying the brakes to bring our speed off. The limit is now down to 45, and you can see the platform at Norwood Junction just coming up. So I'm now going to brake more so that we enter the platform at no faster than around 30 miles per hour. We're entering that about 32 there, which is probably slightly on the quick side, so I'm just going to go into step 3 braking to bring our speed off a bit more. I couldn't see a clear stopping point here at Norwood Junction station, so I'm going to aim to stop just before the end of the platform building here. Departing from Norwood Junction, the starting speed limit is 45 miles per hour, though as you can see it's going straight up to 60, and we've got around 1 3/4 miles to go to the next and final stop, which is West Croydon. We're now approaching a Morpeth board warning us of an upcoming 20 mile per hour speed restriction, so I'm now going to idle the power and allow the train to coast. As we round this curve we're going to start going up on a gradient of 1 in 50, which is obviously very steep. So I'm now going to apply a step 1 brake application going up to step 2 to slow down for the 20 mile per hour speed limit, which is just at the top of this hill here, and you can see the 20 mile per hour speed board just coming up. I've now idled the power, which will just allow us to coast along here. We will shortly be going down on a gradient as steep as 1 in 45, so at that point I'm going to need to use step 1 braking to ensure that we don't break the speed limit. So on this right hand curve we've now started to go downhill. As the speedometer needle crawls up towards 20 miles per hour, I'm now applying 1 step of braking to control our speed. I have just momentarily released the brakes to allow us to crawl back up to 20, and now reapplying them once again. The gradient is levelling out just as we come to the bottom of the hill here. Just passed under the Brighton main line from London Victoria to Brighton, and as you can see the speed limit is about to go up to 60 miles per hour. We can accelerate for that very shortly on the next AWS ramp just coming up. I will then go into full power to accelerate up towards 60. We now have a Morpeth board warning as of an upcoming 45 mph speed restriction, so now we've reached 45 miles per hour. I've just idled the power to allow the train to coast to ensure that we don't break that speed. And we can brake for West Croydon just as we round this left-hand corner and we pass under the next overbridge. I just realised that I was actually in one step of braking there, so I'm just going to allow us to continue to coast towards West Croydon. You can see the station now just coming up. We do need to stop at the end of the platform here. Here we are, arrival at West Croydon. Thank you very much for watching, and I really hope that you've enjoyed the video. I would just like to remind you that you can find me on Facebook under PTG Rail, and the link for the Facebook page will be in the description of this video. And also, if you really do appreciate the work that I do and would like to support me financially, then please do visit my Patreon page for further information. Again, the link for this will be in the description of this video.